the worst night of my life. When I was 19 years old, I had just moved to Agen to start my first year of college. It was a Sunday towards the end of September 2015. It was already very dark in the evening, almost night. I was returning from Toulouse after spending a weekend celebrating a friend's birthday. I had decided to take a late train back to Agen so I could enjoy my afternoon in Toulouse with my friends. I had just arrived at the Agen train station around 9:50 p.m., and I still had to walk 30 minutes to get home. Being new to Agen, it was the first time I had walked through the city in the middle of the night. In my entire life, I'd never had a problem before. I was neither worried nor scared about walking home alone in the middle of the night. As I was leaving the station, I saw a small group of guys smoking in front of it. I didn't pay much attention to it. I put on my headphones, turned on my music, and started walking home. The only route I knew to get home at that point was a long straight, then a left at Palissy Park, and another long straight. Simple as that. I was still on my first straight, my helmet on. The lights were still good, but I could see that further on they were starting to dissipate. I hadn't planned for it, but for the moment, it wasn't a problem. I then noticed someone walking behind me. He was wearing a dark gray sweater with a hood over his head. He was probably going home too. A 15-minute walk later, the guy was still there. The lighting was gradually fading, and I felt something was wrong. Stress began to rise within me. I tried to ignore it, and stupidly, I started turning up the volume on my phone to focus on the music I was listening to. Near the park, the lighting was almost non-existent. I was really starting to get anxious because the guy was still walking behind me. I started to speed up. I had the choice of either crossing the park or going around it. Thinking of the worst, I told myself it was better to stay on the sidewalk and walk along all the houses in the city center. Just in case, there would have been people there who could hear or see something in the worst-case scenario. Out of fear and for safety, I decided to go around the park. He decided to cut through the park, which gave him a little more distance. Despite the darkness, I could see his silhouette advancing through the park, and I could see him turning around almost every 2 minutes to see where I was. I walked very quickly, faster and faster, to gain some distance because the more I saw him advance, the more I had the feeling he would eventually catch up with me at the park exit. I managed to gain some distance and maintained my walking speed. I was very scared. There was no light at all. It was truly pitch black. I didn't dare run or turn around. I was afraid he would start chasing me and, more importantly, catch up. I was afraid of seeing and knowing how far away he was and of him seeing my fear. I was afraid and preferred to focus on my walking and my speed. I wanted to remain discreet, but the anxiety was so strong that I started to cry. I did everything I could to not make a sound, so he wouldn't hear me cry. The idea of him seeing my vulnerability scared me. I was afraid it would give him more power, posture, strength, and paralyze me even more. Around me, there were no lights, no houses, no cars, just him following me and me. I was truly alone for 5 long, very long minutes. The more I walked, the more I began to realize that we were both walking towards home. I had to think about changing direction, but there was no other way. The next intersection was still far away. Tears streamed down my cheeks. The knot in my stomach was getting heavier and heavier, and I was starting to get a stitch in my side. When I reached the intersection, I crossed without even looking for cars. I just charged ahead. The street was a little brighter, but it was still very quiet. No one, no cars. I wanted to go into an apartment or house, any apartment, pretend it was my home and ask for help, but I didn't have the courage. After 3 to 4 minutes of crossing the intersection, I saw another man, probably in his 40s. He was waving his arms around to make me stop. I froze. I tried to ignore him. I thought maybe they were together. He continued to walk alongside me and continued to gesture wildly, and I saw him motioning for me to take off my helmet, which I did. The man in his 40s said to me, "Miss, I passed you with my wife and son down the road. The man behind you has been following you since a while ago. I followed you to make sure everything was okay for you. But I saw him start running after you, and I started running too to warn you. Come to this side of the sidewalk. I'm with you. You're not alone anymore. Don't worry." I immediately saw his fear and sensed the terror in his voice. Without question, I crossed the road to join him and collapsed in tears. He tried to reassure me, but I couldn't calm down. I was shaking all over. When the man came to talk to me, the guy who was following me was still behind me. We both watched him leave. It was the first time I'd seen him so close and so well. The man who joined me explained that he ran the tobacconists on the street opposite the train station and that they were closing up as I walked past. He was also convinced that the guy who was following me meant me harm. We sat on the sidewalk for about 30 minutes while I gathered my wits, and he kindly walked me home. The man thought I hadn't noticed the guy following me at all. He told me later that the guy started running when it was completely dark and that he was really close to me. The man started shouting, and the guy behind me suddenly slowed down. He was definitely going to do something, but the man's shout dissuaded him. As for me, I was in front, far too scared to turn around, with the music blasting in my headphones. I hadn't heard any of this. Finally, I remained convinced that this man saved my life. After that, I couldn't go out alone at night for several weeks. A week after the incident, I went to the man's tobacconist's with flowers and chocolate to thank him. We both started to cry, and the people in the tobacconist applauded him. The worst night of my life. Hi everyone, my name is Lisa, and I thought I'd share the story of what happened to me here. However, it might be long because I'm anything but concise. In November 2021, it was my best friend's 20th birthday. She decided to throw a party, but since she lives in an apartment with her mother, she rented a house in the countryside about 40 minutes by highway from our big city. She did all the paperwork herself. She specified that she was 20, but she didn't mention it was for her birthday because she'd already been turned down several times by landlords who said, "Oh no, young people, they'll break things, they'll do stupid things, etc." The day arrived, and as usual, she was super late. So we decided to go get the keys to the cottage with her mother, and a friend of my BFFs came to pick her up. Despite some difficulty, we managed to find the house, which is truly lost among the vines, especially since it's incredibly foggy and freezing. We meet the owner who gives us the keys and shows us around. The house is huge. On the ground floor, there's a living, dining room, a kitchen, a bathroom, a bedroom, and an entrance hall with a staircase leading up to the first floor, where there are 3 bedrooms and another bathroom. I decide to put my things in the ground floor bedroom. The owner explains that she used to live in the house with her family, and that they have a newer house not far from this one. We wonder what my BFF is doing, except that our signal is crap, so we're just starting to set up the decor and everything. Finally, they both arrive, and my friend tells us that all the other guests have either canceled or aren't responding. So, big disappointment, we're left with 3 of us, including me, who's particularly tired due to health issues I don't want to discuss here. My BFF's mom is leaving, so we're having a good time. Music, alcohol, and hash for them, chips, etc. I'm starting to get a really bad headache, and I think the hash must be going to my head. So we decide to open the window at the far end of the room we're in. So we open it, but we half close the shutters and put the hook in. Time passes, and at some point, we're starting to get hungry, and the 2 of us had spotted a KFC near the highway exit about 20 minutes away, and we decide to grab that and then come back here to eat. Except we're lost and we realize no delivery person will be coming. But I don't feel well, so I stay home and rest a little before they come back with the food. Before sitting down, I want to take off my makeup and change, so I grab my chill clothes from the ground floor bedroom and go upstairs to get my friend's makeup remover because I forgot mine from one of the upstairs bedrooms. So I'm taking off my makeup in the upstairs bathroom. Then I hear noise downstairs to the point of thinking it's not possible they forgot something there. I call them, no answer. I say to myself, "Come on girl, you're being paranoid, it's an old house, etc." I go back downstairs and decide to quickly tidy up the living room so it's clean when we eat. Then I get a cold shiver. The window is open. I go over to close it, and I see that the hook is no longer there. Huge discomfort, a little internal panic. Afterwards, I try to reassure myself by saying, "Girl, things are not going well in your life. You're tired? The shit must be making you hallucinate or become paranoid. In the end, it wasn't even you who took care of the window, so maybe you saw wrong." So I close it and go back to the table and tidy up. Despite myself, I still have this old, indescribable feeling. I'm based on a police series and everything. I say to myself, "Girl, you send a text to your friend to tell her to get moving. You're going to check all the rooms to be sure because otherwise you're not going to be able to rest easy." So I act like nothing happened. I hum the living room music and I go to the kitchen to get a knife. You never know. I see that my message hasn't been sent because there's no network. So I try via Snap, Insta, and everything. I'm on edge, but on a misunderstanding it goes through. And then, idea of the century, I say to myself, I'm going to snap the house and the rooms, as if I were making a video for my friends, so it doesn't seem suspicious. To this day, I don't even know why it came to me. I go through the whole house and no one. Then I go into the rooms, but I don't do the big inspection either. I tell myself that the police series have really rubbed off on me, so I put the knife back in the kitchen and decide to go sit down. I see that my things are a mess, but that's just me being messy. I decide to tidy everything up on the armchair in the bedroom, and I see my deodorant, so I put the doze on. Like with perfume, as soon as I get my hands on it, I have to put some on. I put it on the floor next to the bed, because there's no bedside table. I turn off the light, I light up with my phone, which I then put in my pocket once I'm lying down. I'm so tired, so I close my eyes and try to fall asleep. I have ultra calm and long breathing, like when you're sleeping, except that, I don't know, I can't sleep. Not very long after, I hear little noises from under the bed, as if someone was tapping on the box spring to see if I react or not. But I'm paralyzed with fear. I wonder what it is, but I don't react. This is dissociation for me. Basically, there's me, my mind that's terrified, and my body that does things on its own. It seems stupid, but I don't know how to explain. Like I wasn't ordering anything at all. My body was managing itself. Anyway, Then I hear intense rubbing noises, and I think someone is coming out from under the bed. And I feel a presence behind me, but I do nothing. I want to vomit. I'm so scared. My mind wants to cry, but my body remains stoic and doesn't move an iota. This moment seems like an eternity to me. Then I hear him move. I feel the mattress lower on his side as if he were putting his knee on it. The guy gets closer, and I swear, in my head I was thinking, "Girl, this is it. It's over," I wanted to scream. And out of nowhere, while the guy gets closer and makes a little noise, my hand grabs the deodorant off the floor. It's crazy because it's like I'm out of control. My hand has the deodorant, but the rest of my body is frozen, breathing slow and deep, while in my head I feel like I'm suffocating. The guy gets so close that I feel a hot breath on the back of my neck, and it's by far the worst feeling I've ever experienced in my life. And I don't know, after the discomfort caused by that, in a matter of seconds I'm squirting deodorant all over his face. The guy screams, he backs away, and I keep spraying. 2 seconds later, I'm running down the hall and locking myself in the bathroom with the stupid little latch. He's banging on the door, he's screaming and trying to break the lock. I don't know how to describe it to you, but it's like I have two memories, like the one in my body and the one in my mind. My mind wanted to scream at the top of its lungs, to call for help, to cry and hide, but my body kept moving. It opened the small bathroom window and I was out the door in no time. It's crazy because I don't remember making that decision. It's like my body was working on its own. I start running as hard as I can through the vines in the dark and in a fog, and I remember thinking to myself like, damn, this is really a sketch. It's like one of those old horror movies where they run through a cornfield. I hear him behind me, but I don't even turn around. I run without stopping. I don't even think about picking up the phone right away. I just run. I reach a house, but there's no light. I want to call for help. I try to scream, but nothing comes out, like nothing at all. So I turn around in circles because I understand I'm not going to be able to run for 50 years. I try to find a hiding place. I know it's not far and I have to hurry. Then I see a kind of compost bin. I open it and I throw myself in it. So it's just as crazy. I don't know how I thought of doing that, but I put my phone on silent, minimum brightness. I check the signal. 2 bars. I try to calm my breathing. I hear it coming and I tell myself that it's over. If I call, they'll hear me. And then I think of that number again, 114, for the deaf and mute. I write for help. Once again, my fingers type all the information I have. The name of the town, my name, the guy's height, the guy's weight, what he's wearing, what happened in general. The operator answers me directly by asking me if I'm hidden, if he's near me, etc. He tells me that help is coming, etc. I say that I'm hidden in the compost. I say that I have a prosthesis so they can identify my body just in case. This is crazy, except that I hear footsteps nearby, so I decide to lock my phone and try not to make any noise. Clearly the longest minutes of my life. Luckily, I hear the sirens. Nothing comes out of my mouth. I don't cry. I wait aimlessly. It was only when my BFF arrived and took me in her arms that everything fell back. I collapsed on the ground and cried all the tears in my body. It was horrible. Finally, the police made the findings. They were able to take my testimony the next day at the hospital and then gave me the end of the story. The guy was watching the house. He saw my friends leave. He seized his chance. He entered the house through the living room window, the famous window. He went into the downstairs bedroom, stole my underwear for the next day, and masturbated on it. Then he got under the bed. He confessed that his goal was basic rape, but that after I ran away, he was so angry that he wanted to finish me off. Finally, we learned that the guy in question was the owner's son. He knew the house well, having lived there, and he knew there was a 20-year-old girl living there. He had also already been convicted of sexual assault on a minor and had received a suspended sentence for another rape he had committed. Otherwise, I'm feeling better today. I'm sharing my story as part of my therapy, also to warn people to always follow their instincts, to give you 114 as an emergency number if you can't talk, and to express my frustration at the fact that this man was already known to the police. I'm not questioning the work of the investigators, just this systematic problem. I'm lucky to still be alive, thanks to adrenaline and police series anyway, but even though I wasn't raped, I'm constantly hyper-vigilant. I hear her scream regularly at night, and I can't stand kisses on my neck or even just having someone breathe on me anymore, whereas before I loved that with my girlfriend. So it's still serious. My friends are also doing well, even though they're working on their guilt, even though it's obviously not their fault. Take care, protect yourself, and trust your feelings. Thanks for listening to this terrifying story. If you enjoyed it, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss the next one. I've got plenty more creepy tales waiting for you, so check out my other videos right here on the channel. Stay safe out there, and I'll catch you in the next one.